The two suns of Seven were starting to go down. The sky turned orange and pink and purple all at once. It was the most beautiful time of day on this strange planet, but 12-year-old was not looking at the sky. He was looking at something moving in the ravine below the hill. Lived in a small human colony. His family had come here from Earth 3 years ago, along with 200 other families. They built their homes out of metal and plastic. They grew food in special greenhouses. They tried to make this alien world feel like home. But Seven was not Earth. It belonged to the... They were the most dangerous creatures had ever seen. They stood 7 feet tall, covered in dark blue fur that looked almost black in certain light. Their eyes were golden, like coins made of fire. They had claws that could cut through metal and teeth that could crush bone. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but that was where the similarity ended. They did not like humans. They did not hate them either. They simply did not care about them. To the humans were like insects, small, weak, not worth thinking about. They allowed the human colony to exist only because the humans had asked permission and promised to stay in their small area of land. His mother always told him to stay away from the fence. The fence marked the edge of human territory. Beyond it was land, and humans were not welcome there. But today had seen something. Something small was moving in the ravine just beyond the fence. Something was making a sound like crying. He looked around. No one was watching. His mother was in the greenhouse. His father was at the medical center. The other colonists were busy with their work. Squeezed through a gap in the fence. His heart was beating fast as he walked down the hill. The grass here was different from Earth grass. It was red instead of green, and it made a soft crunching sound under his feet. The crying sound was getting louder. At the bottom of the ravine found a small stream. The water was clear and cold, and beside the stream, lying on the rocks, was a creature he had never seen before. But it was small, very small. It was only the size of a large dog, with soft blue fur and golden eyes that were wet with tears. One of its back legs was bent in a way that legs should not bend. Dark purple blood was coming from a cut on its side. It was a cub, a baby. The cub saw and tried to move away. It made a scared sound and dragged itself backward, but it could not go far. The pain in its leg was too much. Stood very still. He remembered what his teacher had told them about they were protective of their young, more protective than any species in the known galaxy. To touch a cub without permission was a crime punishable by death. Not just the death of the person who touched the cub, but the death of their whole family, sometimes their whole community. Should run. He should go back through the fence and pretend he never saw anything. That would be the smart thing to do. But the cub was crying. It was scared and hurt and alone, and it was just a baby. Could not leave it. He sat down slowly on the ground, making himself small and not scary. The cub watched him with wide golden eyes. "It is okay," said softly. "I am not going to hurt you, I promise." The cub did not understand his words, but maybe it understood his voice. It stopped trying to crawl away. It just lay there, breathing hard, watching him. Moved closer very slowly, one small movement at a time. The cub made a warning sound, a low growl that came from deep in its chest, but it did not try to bite him. It did not try to scratch him with its small claws. When it was close enough to touch, he stopped. He held out his hand, palm up, the way you would to a scared dog or cat. The cub sniffed his fingers. Its nose was cold and wet. Then, very slowly, it leaned its head against his hand. Felt tears in his own eyes. This creature was supposed to be his enemy. Its people looked down on humans like they were nothing. But right now, it was just a hurt baby who needed help. "I am going to pick you up now," said. "It might hurt a little. I am sorry." He took off his jacket and wrapped it around the cub as gently as he could. When he lifted it, the cub made a sharp sound of pain. Its broken leg moved and could see how bad the injury was. The bone was broken in at least 2 places. If it did not get help soon, it might never walk again. The cub was heavier than it looked, had to use all his strength to carry it up the hill. By the time he reached the fence, his arms were shaking and his back was hurting. But he did not stop. He squeezed back through the gap, careful not to bump the cub's leg. The colony looked quiet and peaceful in the evening light. People were starting to go home for dinner. Smoke was rising from the cooking areas. Children were playing in the streets. No one noticed walking quickly toward his home with something wrapped in his jacket. No one noticed until he was almost at his door. Then old grandmother, who lived next door, looked up from her garden. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth fell open. She whispered, "What have you done?" Did not answer. He pushed open the door of his home and went inside. His mother was in the kitchen. She turned around when she heard the door, a smile on her face. The smile disappeared when she saw what her son was carrying. Her voice was shaking. "Tell me that is not what I think it is." "It is hurt, Mom." His voice was steady, even though his heart was pounding. "Its leg is broken. It was going to die." Walked closer. She looked at the cub in her son's arms. The cub looked back at her with its golden eyes. It made a small, sad sound. "Oh no," said. "Oh no, oh no, oh no." "We have to help it," said. "Please, Mom, we have to." "Do you understand what this means?" Grabbed her son's shoulders. "Do you understand what will happen when they find out? They will kill us. They will kill all of us." "Then they will kill us," said. "But I am not going to let a baby die just because I am scared." Stared at her son. He was only 12 years old, but in that moment he looked older. He looked brave in a way that made her heart hurt. She thought about her own mother, back on Earth, who had taught her that kindness was more important than safety. She thought about all the times she had told to help others, to be good, to do the right thing even when it was hard. How could she punish him for doing exactly what she had taught him to do? "Your father," she said finally. "We need your father. He will know how to help." She grabbed her communication device and called. Her hands were shaking so much that she almost dropped it. "Come home now," she said when he answered. "Do not ask questions, just come home, and bring your medical supplies, all of them." Outside, grandmother was already knocking on other doors. Word was starting to spread. People were looking towards house with fear in their eyes. The suns continued to go down. The shadows grew longer. And somewhere in the distance, in a territory that humans were forbidden to enter, a mother was beginning to realize that her cub had not come home. Ran all the way from the medical center. He had never run so fast in his life. His wife's voice on the communication device had scared him more than anything else in the world. She sounded like she was about to cry. When he pushed open the door of his home, he was breathing hard. His medical bag was heavy on his shoulder. His heart was pounding in his chest. Then he saw what his son was holding, and his heart stopped. "No," he said. The word came out like a whisper. "Please tell me this is not real." "It is real, Dad." Was sitting on the floor with the cub in his lap. The cub's golden eyes were half closed with pain. Its breathing was shallow and fast. "Its leg is broken. I found it in the ravine. It was going to die." Put down his medical bag slowly. He felt like he was moving through water. Everything seemed unreal, like a bad dream he could not wake up from. "Do you know what you have done?" His voice was very quiet. "Do you have any idea?" "I know," said. "I know what I did, but I could not leave it there, Dad. I just could not." Looked at his wife. Was standing by the window, her arms wrapped around herself like she was cold. Her face was pale. Her eyes were red from crying. "What do we do?" she asked. "What can we possibly do?" Did not have an answer. He was a doctor. He had trained for years to save lives, but he had never imagined a situation like this. He had never imagined that his own son would bring home the child of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. He walked closer and knelt down beside. The cub watched him with its golden eyes. It made a low sound, somewhere between a growl and a whimper. It was scared of him. "It is okay," told the cub softly. "This is my dad. He is a doctor. He helps people who are hurt." The cub seemed to relax a little. Its eyes moved from to and back again. It was as if it understood that trusted this new human, so maybe it could trust him too. Looked at the cub's leg. The injury was bad, very bad. The bone was broken in two places and the pieces had moved out of position. If it was not fixed soon, the bone would start to heal wrong. The cub would never walk properly again. "I need to set the bone," said. "It will hurt a lot." "Can you give it medicine for pain?" asked. "I do not know what medicine is safe for. If I give it the wrong thing, I could kill it." Ran his hand through his hair. "I do not even know if their bodies work like ours. I am a human doctor, not a doctor." "But bones are bones, right?" Looked at his father with hope in his eyes. "A broken bone is a broken bone. You have fixed broken bones before." Thought about this. His son was right. He had studied the basics of biology when they first came to this planet. He knew that they had bones and muscles and blood, just like humans. The structure was different, but the basic principles were the same. "Get me clean water," he told, "and clean cloths, as many as you can find." Did not move. "You are actually going to do this." "What choice do I have?" Opened his medical bag and started taking out supplies. "If I do nothing, it will die. And if it dies in our home, they will be even more angry. At least if I try to save it, we might have a chance." Went to get the water and cloths. Her hands were still shaking, but she moved quickly. She understood what her husband was saying. They were already in terrible danger. They might as well try to do the right thing. Worked slowly and carefully. He cleaned the wound on the cub's side first. The cut was not deep, thankfully. It would heal on its own. The real problem was the leg. "Hold it still," he told. "Talk to it, keep it calm." Held the cub gently against his chest. He started to sing. It was an old song, a lullaby that his grandmother had sung to him when he was very small. The words were in Korean, a language from Earth that his family had kept alive even here on this distant planet. The cub's ears moved at the sound. It had never heard human singing before. The sound was strange but somehow nice. It made the cub feel less scared. Took a deep breath and started to work on the leg. The cub screamed when he moved the broken bones back into place. It was a terrible sound, high and sharp and full of pain. Held on tight and kept singing, even though his voice was shaking and there were tears running down his face. Outside, people were gathering. Word had spread through the whole colony now. Everyone knew that the doctor's son had brought home a cub. Some people were angry, some people were scared. Most people were both. The colony administrator pushed through the crowd. He was a small man with thin hair and nervous eyes. He was responsible for keeping the colony safe, and right now, he felt like he was failing completely. He knocked on the door. No one answered. He knocked again, harder. He called out, "Open this door right now." "Go away," his voice came from inside. "He is working." "This is not a request. Open the door or I will break it down." There was a long silence. Then the door opened, stood there blocking the way inside. Her eyes were hard. "My husband is trying to save a life," she said. "You can wait." Tried to look past her into the house. He could see kneeling on the floor, his hands covered in purple blood. He could see holding something small and blue. He could hear a sound like crying. "You have killed us all," he said. His voice was high and tight with fear. "When they find out about this, they will destroy the entire colony. Every man, woman, and child. We will all die because of your stupid son." Slapped him. The sound was loud in the evening air. Everyone watching gasped. Stumbled backward, his hand on his red cheek. "Never call my son stupid," said. Her voice was calm and cold. "He did something brave, something good. He saw a child in pain and he helped. That is what we taught him to do. That is what humans are supposed to do." "Bravery will not save us," said. "Goodness will not save us. They do not care about human kindness. They care about their cubs, and when they find out that we touched one of their cubs, they will kill us all. Then we will die, said, but at least we will die knowing we did the right thing. She closed the door in his face. Inside was finishing his work. He had set the bones and wrapped the leg in a splint. The cub was exhausted from the pain, but it was still alive. Its breathing was getting slower and more normal. It was starting to fall asleep. "You did it, Dad," whispered. "You saved it." Sat back and wiped the sweat from his face. He looked at his son, holding the sleeping cub like it was the most precious thing in the world. "I set a bone," he said. "Whether I saved it or not, we will find out soon." Outside, the first son was almost gone. The second son would follow soon after. Night was coming to 7. And somewhere in the territory, a mother was gathering her warriors. Her cub was missing. Someone had taken her child, and she would burn the whole planet to ashes to get it back. The first ship appeared just as the second sun was touching the horizon. It came over the mountains to the east, moving fast and silent. Its shape was like a great bird with wings spread wide. Its surface was black, so black that it seemed to eat the light around it. Saw it through the window. He was still sitting on the floor with the cub sleeping in his lap. The cub had been sleeping for almost an hour now. Its breathing was slow and peaceful. It looked almost happy. "Mom," said, his voice was very quiet, "they are here." Came to the window. When she saw the ship, she made a small sound, like someone had hit her in the stomach. She grabbed the edge of the window with both hands. She called, "Come look." Was washing his hands in the kitchen. He had cleaned up all the medical supplies and put them away. He had done everything he could do. Now there was nothing left but to wait. He walked to the window and looked at the sky. His face went pale. "One ship," he said. "Maybe they are just looking. Maybe they do not know where the cub is." Then a second ship appeared, and a third, and a fourth. Within minutes, there were 17 ships hanging in the sky above the colony. They were arranged in a half-circle, like a net closing around a trapped animal. Their shadows covered the streets and houses, blocking out the last light of the setting suns. All across the colony, people were screaming. Some were running to their homes and locking their doors. Others were running toward the ships, waving their arms and shouting. A few were falling to their knees and praying to whatever gods they believed in. Was standing in the middle of the main street, his communication device in his hand. He was trying to contact the ships, trying to explain, trying to beg for mercy. But there was no answer. The ships just hung there in silence, watching. Inside their homes, family did not move. They stood at the window and watched the ships. The cub continued to sleep in its lap, unaware of what was happening outside. "What do we do?" whispered. "Should we run? Should we hide?" "There is nowhere to run," said. "There is nowhere to hide. If they want to find us, they will find us." "Then what? We just wait for them to kill us." Did not answer. He did not have an answer. Looked down at the sleeping cub. Its small chest was moving up and down with each breath. Its paws twitched slightly, like it was dreaming. It was so small and innocent. It had no idea that its people had come to destroy the humans who had saved its life. "I am glad I saved it," said suddenly. "I know I might die. I know we all might die, but I am still glad I did it." His parents looked at him. Their eyes were full of tears. "We are glad too," said. She knelt down beside her son and put her arms around him. "We are proud of you. No matter what happens, we are so proud of you." Outside, the ships began to move. They descended slowly, landing in the fields around the colony. The ground shook as each ship touched down. The sound was like thunder, long and low and terrible. Then the doors of the ships opened. Warriors poured out onto the fields, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They were huge and terrible, their blue fur dark in the fading light, their golden eyes glowing like fire. They carried weapons that humans had no name for. They moved with the silent grace of predators. The human colony had no real defenses. There were a few security guards with small guns. There were some emergency weapons locked in a storage building, but against an army of these things meant nothing. They were like trying to stop an ocean with a cup. They did not attack. They did not burn the buildings or kill the humans. They simply walked into the colony, their feet making no sound, their eyes looking at everything. They were searching. Searching for the cub. Ran toward the warriors, his hands up in the air. "Please," he shouted, "please listen to me. We did not mean any harm. We were trying to help." A warrior stopped and looked down at him. The warrior was at least 3 feet taller than. Its eyes were cold and empty. "Where is the cub?" the warrior asked. Its voice was deep, like rocks grinding together. "The doctor's house," said immediately. He pointed towards home. "Over there. The boy brought it there. We tried to stop him, but—" The warrior did not wait for him to finish. It turned and walked toward the house. Other warriors followed. Within seconds, a crowd was moving through the streets, all heading for the same place. Inside the house, his family heard footsteps approaching. Many, many footsteps. The ground was shaking slightly with each step. "They are coming," said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Oh God, they are coming." "Stay calm," said, but his own voice was shaking. "We have to stay calm. We have to explain what happened. Maybe they will listen." "They will not listen," said. They do not listen to humans. They never have." The footsteps stopped outside their door. There was a moment of silence. Then 3 loud knocks, slow and measured. Stood up carefully. The cub stirred in his arms but did not wake up. He looked at his parents with steady eyes. "I will talk to them," he said. "No," grabbed his arm. "No, I will do it. This is my responsibility. I am the one who found the cub. I am the one who brought it here. This is my responsibility, Dad, not yours." Started to argue, but another knock came from the door. Louder this time, more demanding. "Open." The voice from outside was not asking. It was commanding. Walked to the door. His legs felt weak. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might explode. He reached for the handle and pulled the door open. A stood before him, but this was not a warrior. This was something else, something more. She was taller than the warriors, almost 8 feet. Her fur was a deeper blue, almost purple. Her eyes burned brighter than any eyes had ever seen. She wore a necklace of golden chains around her neck, and her claws were painted black. Behind her, stretching all the way down the street and beyond, were more warriors, elders, mothers with cubs of their own hiding behind their legs. The entire colony, it seemed, had come. The tall looked down at. Her eyes moved past him into the house. They found, standing in the middle of the room with the cub in his arms. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. The only sound was the soft breathing of the sleeping cub. Then the tall stepped forward, ducking her head to fit through the human-sized doorway. She walked into the house and stopped in front of. She was so close that he could smell her. She smelled like the forest, like trees and grass and wild things. She smelled like power. "My daughter," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it filled the room like a storm. "You have my daughter." Looked up at her. He was scared. He was more scared than he had ever been in his life, but he did not look away. "Yes," he said. "I found her. She was hurt. I helped her." The matriarch stared at him. Her golden eyes were impossible to read. She could kill him with one swipe of her claws. She could end his life in less than a second. But she did not move. She just stared. And in his arms, the cub began to wake up. The cub opened its golden eyes. For a moment, it seemed confused. It did not know where it was or what was happening. Then it saw its mother standing above it, and it made a sound of pure joy. "Mama," the cub cried out in the language. "Mama, mama." The matriarch's face changed. The cold, hard expression melted away and something else appeared, something soft, something almost human. She reached down toward her daughter. Did not pull back. He did not try to hold on to the cub. He simply lifted it up, offering it to its mother. The movement was gentle and careful, making sure not to hurt the injured leg. The matriarch took her daughter into her arms. She held the cub close to her chest, wrapping her arms around its small body. The cub pushed its face into its mother's fur, making happy sounds. For a moment the matriarch closed her eyes. She held her daughter and breathed deeply. When she opened her eyes again, they were wet with tears. Had never imagined that it could cry. The matriarch looked at the bandage on her daughter's leg. She looked at the clean cloth wrapped around the wound on its side. She looked at how peaceful the cub was, how calm, how safe it seemed. "You did this," she said too. "It was not a question." "My father did most of it," said honestly. "He is a doctor. He fixed the broken bone. I just held her and tried to keep her calm." The matriarch turned her burning eyes too. The doctor was standing by the wall, his hands at his sides. He was trying to look calm but could see that his father's legs were shaking. "You fixed her leg," the matriarch said. "Yes." His voice was steady, even though his body was not. "The bone was broken in 2 places. I set it back and made a splint. She should heal well, but she will need to rest for several weeks, and she should not put weight on that leg until the bone is fully healed." The matriarch was silent for a long moment. She looked at her daughter's leg again, studying the bandage and the splint with careful eyes. "Our healers," she said slowly, "would not have been able to do this." "I am sorry," was confused. "The injury was too severe. The bone had moved too much. Our healers would have had to break it again and start over. It would have taken months to heal, and even then she would have walked with a limp for the rest of her life." The matriarch looked at with new eyes. "You fixed it in 1 afternoon." "I was just doing my job," said. "I am a doctor. Helping people who are hurt is what I do." "People," the matriarch repeated the word. "You call my daughter a person." "She is a child who was hurt and scared and needed help. What else would I call her?" The matriarch turned back too. The boy was still standing in the same place, his arms now empty. He looked small and fragile compared to the giant around him. He looked like he could be crushed with one hand. But he did not look afraid anymore. He was looking at the cub in the matriarch's arms, and he was smiling. "You found her," the matriarch said. "Tell me what happened." Took a breath. "I saw something moving in the ravine beyond the fence. I went to look, even though I knew I was not supposed to. I found her lying by the stream. Her leg was broken and she was bleeding and crying. She tried to crawl away from me, but she could not move well because of the pain." "You touched her." The matriarch's voice was hard. "Yes, I picked her up and carried her home. I knew it was against your laws. I knew you might kill me for it, but I could not leave her there to die." Looked directly into the matriarch's golden eyes. "She was just a baby. She was scared and hurt and alone. What kind of person would I be if I walked away from that?" The room was completely silent. Outside, hundreds were waiting. They could hear everything that was being said through the open door. They were listening to a human boy explain why he had committed the greatest crime in their culture. The matriarch held her daughter closer. The cub had fallen asleep again, comfortable and warm in its mother's arms. "Do you know who I am, little human?" "No," said. "I do not know your name, but I know you are her mother. I could see it in your eyes the moment you looked at her." Something changed in the matriarch's face. The hardness melted away a little more. "I am Riven," she said. "I am the leader of the Sunward Pride. I have commanded armies. I have conquered planets. I have killed enemies that numbered in the thousands." She paused. "And I have never in all my long life met anyone like you." Did not know what to say. He just stood there waiting. "Our law says you must die," Riven continued. "You touched my daughter without permission. You took her from our territory. By rights, I should kill you where you stand." Made a small, choked sound. She moved toward her son but held her back. "But our law also says something else," Riven said. "It says that anyone who saves the life of a cub becomes part of our family. They become kin." She looked at with her burning eyes. "You did not just touch my daughter, little human. You saved her life. You risked everything, your life, your family's lives, your whole colony, to help a child who was not your own. She stepped closer, too. Her shadow fell over him like a blanket. Why, she asked, why did you do it? The question hung in the air. Thought about it carefully before answering. Because it was the right thing to do, he said finally. Because that is what my parents taught me. Because when I saw her lying there hurt and scared, I did not see her, I just saw a child who needed help. He paused. And because I think that is what makes us human, not our bodies, not our technology, not our planet or our history. What makes us human is that we care about others, even when it is dangerous, even when it is stupid, even when it might kill us. Riven stared at him for a long, long moment. Then she did something that no had ever done to a human before. She knelt. She lowered herself down until her face was level with his. Her golden eyes were just a few inches from his dark brown ones. You have more courage in your small body than most warriors have in their whole lives, she said. You have more honor than generals who have won 100 battles. You have taught me something today, little human. You have taught me that I was wrong about your kind. Felt tears starting to form in his eyes. You are not going to kill us. Riven's mouth curved into something that might have been a smile. Her teeth were sharp and white, but somehow the expression was not scary. Kill you, she said. Why would I kill my own family? Behind her, the gathered began to murmur. The sound spread outward through the door down the street, across the whole colony. Humans and alike were listening, trying to understand what was happening. Riven stood up and turned to face the crowd outside. This human, she announced, her voice carrying like thunder, has saved the life of my daughter. By our oldest law, he is now kin to the sunward pride. His family is our family. His people are our people. Any who threaten them threaten us. She turned back to look at his family, at. You are under our protection now, she said, for as long as the suns burn. The silence that followed Riven's words was the deepest had ever heard. It seemed like the whole planet was holding its breath. Even the wind had stopped blowing. Then the cub in Riven's arms made a small sound. It lifted its head and looked around with sleepy golden eyes. It saw standing nearby and made a happy chirping noise. Ho, the cub said. The word was clumsy in its mouth, but it was clear enough. Ho. Riven looked down at her daughter with surprise. You know his name. He told me, the cub said in the language. He talked to me the whole time. He sang to me. He made the pain go away. Riven's eyes moved back too. There was something new in her expression now, something like wonder. She spoke your name, Riven told him. The first human word she has ever learned is your name. Felt his heart do something strange in his chest. He walked forward slowly and held out his hand toward the cub. The small creature stretched out its paw and touched his fingers. Hi, said softly, how are you feeling? Better, the cub said. She understood his words even if she could not speak them. Leg still hurts, but better. You were very brave, told her. You did not cry once when my dad was fixing your leg. Well, you cried a little, but you were very brave. The cub made a sound that might have been a laugh. You were brave too. You carried me all the way. You are small but strong. Riven watched this exchange with careful eyes. Around her, the other were watching too. Warriors who had killed hundreds of enemies. Elders who had lived for centuries. Mothers who would die for their children. They were all watching a human boy talk to a cub like they were old friends. What is her name? Asked Riven. I never knew her name. Sira, Riven said. Her name is Sira. Sira smiled. That is a nice name. Sira made another happy chirping sound. Then she yawned, showing small white teeth. She was still tired from her ordeal. Her eyes were starting to close again. She needs rest, said. He had found his voice again now that the immediate danger seemed to be over. And she needs food. She has been through a lot today. Riven nodded. We will take her home. She paused and looked at. But I would like you to check on her, to make sure the leg is healing correctly. Would you do this? Blinked in surprise. You want me to come to your territory to treat her? You saved her leg. You know more about her injury than any of our healers. I would trust no one else. Looked at his wife. Eyes were wide, but she nodded slowly. This was an opportunity that no human had ever been given. A chance to enter territory as a guest, not an intruder. I would be honored, said. Riven turned to face the crowd outside again. Her warriors stood at attention, waiting for her command. The human colonists watched from their doorways and windows, still scared but also curious. We came here tonight ready for war, Riven announced. We came here ready to destroy this colony and everyone in it. We believed that the humans had stolen my daughter, that they had hurt her, that they were our enemies. She paused to let her words sink in. We were wrong. A murmur went through the ranks. This was not something they had expected to hear. Their leader, the great Riven, admitting that she was wrong. It had never happened before. For 3 years we have watched these humans, Riven continued. We have dismissed them as weak, soft, prey animals who somehow learned to build ships. We have ignored them because we thought they were beneath us. She looked back but tonight, a human child showed more courage and more honor than most of our warriors have shown in their entire lives. He risked everything to save a stranger's child. He asked for nothing in return. She walked out of the house and stood in the middle of the street. Hundreds of eyes, both golden and human, were fixed on her. This is what it means to be strong, Riven said. Not the ability to kill, not the power to destroy. True strength is the willingness to help others, even when it costs you everything. True strength is kindness in the face of danger. True strength is what this boy showed tonight. She turned to address the human colonists directly. Many of them backed away in fear, but she raised her hand in a gesture of peace. Humans of this colony, we owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You saved the life of my daughter. You showed us what true strength looks like, and you have taught us that we were wrong about your kind. Pushed forward through the crowd. His face was pale and sweaty, but he found the courage to speak. What does this mean for us? He asked. For the colony. Riven considered his question. It means that you are no longer tolerated guests on this planet. You are allies, friends, family. She smiled that strange, sharp-toothed smile. Any species that threatens you will have to answer to the Sunward Pride, and I promise you they will not like the answer. A wave of relief passed through the human crowd. Some people started to cry, others laughed. A few fell to their knees in gratitude. His family stood in the doorway of their home, watching it all happen, had her arm around shoulders, stood behind them, his hand on his son's head. You did this, said quietly. You changed everything. I just helped someone who was hurt, said. That is all. No, his father shook his head. You did much more than that. You showed them who we really are, not just humans from this colony, humans everywhere. You showed them what humanity means. The warriors began to return to their ships, but before they left, they brought gifts, food from their stores, medicine that could cure diseases humans had no treatment for, technology that was centuries more advanced than anything the colony possessed. They piled these gifts in the middle of the main street until there was a small mountain of treasure. These are for you, Riven said, to thank you for what you have done. Stared at the gifts with his mouth hanging open. This was more wealth than the entire colony had earned in 3 years. This was enough to transform their small settlement into a thriving city. We cannot accept this, he stammered. This is too much. It is not enough, Riven said simply. Nothing could ever be enough, but it is a start. She walked back to his house one more time. Sira was awake again in her arms, watching everything with curious eyes. Little human, Riven said too, you have earned more than gifts tonight. You have earned a name among our people. From this day forward, you will be known as the one who reached into darkness and pulled out a light. Felt tears running down his face. He did not try to wipe them away. Thank you, he said, But I do not need a special name. I do not need gifts. I just want Sierra to get better. I want her to be able to run and play and be happy." Riven's eyes softened. She knelt down once more so that she was face to face with him. "You will see her again soon," she promised. "You will visit our territory. You will play with her when her leg is healed. You will be her friend for all the years to come." She reached out with one massive clawed hand and very gently touched his cheek. "And when you are grown, if you ever need anything, anything at all, you have only to ask. The Sunward Pride will always be there for you." The last of the suns had set now. The sky was dark and full of stars. The ships began to lift off, rising into the night like great black birds. One by one, they disappeared into the darkness, heading home. Sierra looked back from her mother's arms. She lifted one small paw and waved. "Goodbye, Ho," she called out. "See you soon." Waved back, "Goodbye, Sierra, get better soon." Then the last ship was gone, and the colony was quiet again. Pulled her son into a tight hug. She was crying openly now, tears of relief and joy and pride streaming down her face. "My brave boy," she whispered. "My wonderful brave boy." Hugged her back. He was tired, more tired than he had ever been in his life, but he was also happy. He had done something good today, something important, something that would change the future of humans and forever. That night, as lay in bed, he could still feel the warmth of Sierra's fur against his chest. He could still hear her scared little cries turning into peaceful breathing as she fell asleep in his arms. Somewhere out among the stars, he knew, they were telling stories about what had happened tonight. They were telling stories about a small human boy who had changed everything with one act of kindness. And in the years to come, that story would spread across the galaxy. It would be told on 1,000 worlds, in 100 different languages. It would become a legend, a myth, a reminder of what was possible when beings chose compassion over fear. But for now, was just a tired 12-year-old boy who had done the right thing because his parents had taught him to be good. He closed his eyes and smiled. That was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.